So today's topic is overcapitalization because I see this a lot. Actually, my first editing job was somebody who almost like literally capitalize every third word. So capitalization is it can be very tricky. But one of the things I want to let you all know with overcapitalization is that makes it really hard for your editor to do their job. And it's going to take them like 5 to 7 times longer to get through your book editing if you overcapitalize. And this is a really common mistake a lot of people make. So if you do these mistakes, don't worry about it, just be aware of them in the future and make sure you don't overcapitalize. So, hi, my friends who have joined recently. Thank you for joining. And please put your questions in the comments so I can see them and I can answer them because we only do this for 10 to 15 minutes every Monday. And I would love to answer any of your questions you have about writing and publishing. Nothing is too small and nothing is too big. And you're writing and publishing questions don't have to be about the topic that I'm talking about. They can be about anything on writing and publishing for the Q&A. All right. So overcapitalization. The times you should capitalize things is if it's a name. So like a city name like Portland, Oregon, or Salt Lake City, Utah, or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay. So capitalizing names. Absolutely. Okay. And then you have to be careful because sometimes like Neil deGrasse Tyson. So his first name is Neil, but then the D is capitalized and then the G is capitalized. So sometimes you have that double capitalization in the name. So if you have a name, always double check the spelling because I have messed up on names a lot because people spell their names many different ways. So name capitalization, yes. So like cities, states, people's names are all capitalized. Acronyms are capitalized. Okay. So if you have an acronym that's like ACT and that is an acronym, the acronyms are always capitalized because each letter of the acronym stands for something different. So like when I have PFP, that's publishing for professionals. So when I use that acronym, I have to make sure that all three letters are capitalized. So one is capitalized names and any type of names, and two is capitalizing um, acronyms. The third thing you always want to you want to typically capitalize, I should say, is when you are all obviously starting a sentence, right? I've seen people start sentences and not capitalize. I'm like, whoa. So anytime you start a sentence and capitalize, the letter I is always capitalized. I've seen people write I in uppercase and lowercase in the same content. So the letter I is always capitalized. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of a sentence or not. Okay. So some of the things you don't want to capitalize that I see capitalized a lot are the word executive, right? So if you're just saying the executive walked into his office and sat down at his desk, the word executive should not be capitalized. Okay. So if you're saying executive as part of a name of a program, so for example, Alex Trumbull, one of my clients who has amazing books on networking, you should definitely check those out on Amazon. He has a program called the Executive Appeal Program. So it's EAP. So because executive is part of a name, it is capitalized. Okay. So keep that in mind. Like corporate, the letter C in corporate is not capitalized. But if you say corporate America, that is a title. So that is capitalized. So titles are also capitalized. But even if it's that word corporate America, corporate is titled in that. If you just said the man was walking from one corporate office to another, corporate would not be capitalized. So just be careful. And you can always err on the side of not capitalizing something if you're not sure, which is usually easier for your editor to correct. But try not to overcapitalize because typically people go in that way of overcapitalizing their work. Hello, Rick. Thanks for joining us today. Please put your questions in the chat. I need some questions to answer, my friends. No question is too small or too big. You can even put a question in there that you're asking for a friend that is writing and publishing. It doesn't matter what question it is. Hi, Rick. So please put your questions in here. I would love to answer your questions on writing and publishing. We were just talking about capitalization. And while I'm waiting for some questions, I can tell you a story from one of my current clients. And this is something you all want to avoid. So all of my clients have been self-publishing on Amazon because that is the biggest publishing platform that most people publish on. You can also distribute to other places like libraries. You can go through Draft to Digital, distribute to libraries, and you can also distribute to bookstores. You can distribute to gift shops. There's a whole list of places that you can work on to distribute your book to. However, all my clients always post first on Amazon, and that's what I help them with. And so one of my clients who recently wrote a book, he published his book on Amazon. And so we had to make some changes to the manuscript. So we re uploaded those, no problem. And so he wanted to do a specialty paper that Amazon did not offer. And so I said, well, we can do a specialty paper, but we'll have to contact an independent publishing house to like have them quote us a price, and we'll send over the manuscript. And then I'm helping him with this process because I help all my clients with the publishing process as well, coach them through it. And I said, so we can get a quote from them, get some quotes from publishing houses. So I coached him on how to call the publishing houses, and he wanted to do all of that legwork himself. So he found a publishing company, and I talked to the man who he had said he wanted to go with. And the reason he wanted to go with him was because he was the cheapest, because out of the 4 places that gave him quotes, 3 of them quoted him $20 a book, and this place quoted him $12 a book. However, when I talked to the man at this publishing company, it I got really creepy, like creepy man sales vibes off of them, right? Like I love, like, sales are great. Like, I am not saying don't be a great salesperson, because being a great salesperson is really important, right? Because we need to sell ourselves personally and we need to sell ourselves professionally. But there's a great way to go about doing that. And then there's a not so great way to go about doing that. And so um, this guy was just like one of those like creepy, like used car salesmen. Like, I just got not good vibes from him. And I'm usually really good about picking up vibes from people. So he's like, well, I want to go with this person. I said, well, you know, I'm sure they would probably do okay and get your book, and they are offering you the cheapest price, but sometimes the cheapest price isn't the best way to go. And I told my client, like, I'm just not getting good vibes from this guy. Like, I feel like they're just trying to like make a quick buck, and they don't really care about the quality of their client work. And he's like, well, let me get a sample book. And so they sent him a sample book, which was not his book. It was a different book. And the sample book looked fine. So I said, well, it's up to you. You are obviously the ultimate decision maker, but I would recommend to try the other company, because he had talked to a gal from another company who was really great. She was very forthcoming. She wasn't trying to like, push one over on him, or like, try. She just seemed really nice when I talked to her, and seemed really accommodating. It seemed like she was on the up and up. So I said, I know it costs more money, but I think you should go with this one. But he decided to go with the lower priced one. So he went with the lower priced book publisher and has been having issues. So we had sent an original manuscript, but the original manuscript, as I said before, when we put it on Amazon, had some errors in it. So that my client didn't see. So I told him, I will fix this one round of errors for you without charging you extra. So we did that. And we put, while I'm telling the story, please put questions in the chat for me to answer. So we submitted the correct manuscript to the company that was supposed to print his book on the specialty paper. And they sent him the first batch. Thank goodness he only ordered 50 books, because I told him, don't order 1,000 books, order a small set. And he ordered 50 books. So he did do that. And he got the books, and they were the original manuscript that was messed up. And clearly could not hand this out to anybody. They had so many mistakes on it because my client did not double check before we uploaded the manuscript in Amazon, which I do all the time now. Always double check to make sure that that manuscript they upload is the final manuscript they want, and that there's no other changes to make. So he calls me up in a panic. He says, what should I do, Lynn? And I said, well, call or email the company and say, hey, you guys shipped me the wrong book. Take pictures of it, send it to them, and say, you guys need to send me another 50 books with the correct manuscript. And I told him to make sure you email the correct manuscript to them so that they have it on file. So he said he did that. I did not obviously check on him. But when I talked to him, he said he had done that, and that they were not going to refund him for the original purchase, but that he had to pay for a second batch of books to get sent out to him, even though it was not his fault. This was clearly the publishing company who made the mistake. Oh, excuse me. So I said, well, first of all, that's a big red flag for me, because if they're not going to refund you, that mistake that was their mistake, that's not okay. Or just not charge you for the second shipment of books. And so what they said was they'll refund them when he gets the second shipment of books and pays for it. So he had to pay for 2 shipments of books. One was not even good. Gets the second shipment. It's the same manuscript. So he still can't book any speaking opportunities or any book signing things because he can't get any books from this publisher that have the correct manuscript. So the lesson here, my friends, is when you're going with somebody in the publishing industry, when they are, we're going to just specifically talk about like making copies of your book for you. So you're buying copies of your book to sell or hand out to your clients or to customers. Going with the cheapest person might not always be the best thing. It's like medical doctors, right? So if you go in for a quote, you're having to pay for something out of pocket, whether that's like a plastic surgery or just a medical thing that you need to pay out of pocket for. It's not always the best rule with medical doctors either. And with publishing companies to go with the cheapest person, because that has been a bad experience, not for me, but for my ex-husband. So I'm not going to get into details on that on the Substack. But anyway, just know you don't want to go with the cheapest medical practitioner or the cheapest book publisher. So that is my lesson of the week for you guys. So please put any questions you have. We've got 1 more minute and I can answer any questions you have. I hope this has been helpful for you with the overcapitalization and knowing when to go with a book publisher that is going to publish your book outside of Amazon. Of course, you can order books on Amazon. And I told my client that you can just order regular copies with the regular paper, but he really, really wanted this special coated paper. So I said, okay, you can do that too. So he's going to end up having to order copies from Amazon for his book signing because he has no books right now. And you can't go to a book signing without any books. So I hope you're having a wonderful week, my friends. Remember to also check out my podcast, Publishing for Professionals. It is not on Substack, but you can find my podcast, Publishing for Professionals, on all of the podcast players, including Spotify and Apple and Overcast. And you can also find Publishing for Professionals on YouTube. Just jump on YouTube and Google up Publishing for Professionals. So whether you like to look at or get your podcast content on video on YouTube, I've got you covered, or audio, I've got you covered too. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. And remember, my friends, to start writing your book today. Because if you don't start writing your book today, that person tomorrow that needs your information won't be able to get it. So just jump on and start writing today. All right. So Rick is a question. For that price, what was the binding and cover like? Hard or soft cover? So that was a soft cover book. His book ended up being 100 and, if I remember correctly, 185. No, his book ended up being 205 pages. It was a 5x8 book and it was a soft cover. And so it had glossy inside and glossy cover on the outside, but it was not a hard cover. Thank you for asking that, Rick. All right. So my friends, please join me every week here. And you can also join me anytime at your convenience at my podcast. You're welcome, Rick. Publishing for Professionals on YouTube or any of your audio players. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your week, my friends and future authors. And I hope to see you on another Substack Live. Take care. Bye.